Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and in this tutorial we're going to take another look at the for each loop in JSTL, and we're going to use a for each loop to iterate through the values of a Java list. So I'm going to go to this servlet that I've created here, and I'm going to create a list now. So we've looked at maps previously and we've seen how you can access those in JSTL. And in this tutorial I'm going to look at a list. So I'm going to create a list of my user beans like this, and I'll call that list, and I'll set that equal, let's call it list1. Here we go, and I'll set that equal to a new array list. It could be any type of list, and that's yeah, that'll do. So I can leave out the type here because I'm using Java 7, and Java 7 lets you do that. I'll just add the input there, Java util list. And let's add some values to this. Let's say list1.add new user, and just to make this a bit more interesting, I'll just give this animal names. So I'll say fox and ID1, and I'll add like 2 more in here. 2 more values to this list. So let's say fox, bear and cat, and I'll add in 1, 2, 3 for the IDs. Now let's set that into one of my scoped objects. I'll use the session just as an example. I'll say session.setAttribute. Set attribute, let's call it list1, and I'll specify the object list1. Now if you follow these tutorials so far, you'll know that now if I forward to a JSP, or actually if I just go to a JSP, because this is now in the session, we'll be able to access this attribute via the name list1, just because that's the name of the attribute. The variable name here isn't important. What matters is the name of the attribute that you set. So in my JSP page here, I could access this via the name list1. But what we're actually going to do is iterate through that list. So I'm going to use a JSTL C:4each tag, and I'm going to say var. So I need to specify the name of a variable that's going to be my loop variable, and let's say here, let's say animal. I'll just call it animal. And I need to specify the thing that I want to loop through using the items attribute. So I'll say items equals, and here I'll use expression language to get a reference to that object that I set in the session, or I could have set it in a request or the web context and application scope. It doesn't matter. So let's add one in here. And so using expression language, I can now say list1, because I gave the attribute name list1. And now in my for each loop, I could use a cout tag here, for example, to access the animal names or IDs. But let's just use, since I don't care about escaping them, let's just use el directly. And I can say here animal, because that's my loop variable here that I set here, animal.name. And let's also output the ID, since we've got the ID, just to show that it works. And I'll paste this in here and say ID, and let's have a colon, and then I'll have a line break tag after each one. And what this is going to do is, of course, it's going to loop through my list. So the for each loop can loop through a whole bunch of different kinds of list types. I think I'm right in saying that you can't just loop through anything. If you have a class that implements iterable, I don't think for each loop will necessarily recognize it, but certainly there's a broad range of types that it will work with, and any kind of list is among them. So let's now just clean this to make sure it's going to run the latest version, and run that. And now when it starts up, we can see down here I've got animals, I've got the IDs and the names of my user beans. And of course I didn't have to add a user bean in here, so here I've I passed in a list of user beans and access bean properties like this, but it could have just been a list of strings and I could have accessed the values of the strings directly with my variable, for example. So that's another kind of for each loop for you in JSTL, and in the future we're going to use this for iterating through a database, which is going to be very useful. But actually, just one last thing for this tutorial, and if you already know HTML then certainly skip this, but just to show you, if I put this in a HTML table, so I have an open and close table tag, and I could say here I need to start each row with a table row tag. Let's just copy that and close the tag here. Instead of BR now, I'll say close the table row, and I'll surround each value here with a TD tag. TD stands for table data, so I'm going to have one there which I'm going to close here, and let's get rid of this colon here and have another table data, another table cell here. And so the for each loop is really handy for building up HTML tables, and if I now run this now, and we're going to do this later on with some SQL, so I think I've got some an extra slash in there. And of course you can do stuff like specify, if you know CSS, you can specify a style for the table, for example border 1px solid grey, which usually looks quite nice. And HTML and CSS are really outside the scope of this tutorial, but I just wanted to show you a quick example. And if you want to know more about that, then so the table tag is a standard HTML thing, and the style that I've specified here, that's a CSS style, and you can see we've got it in a little box here. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial, and until next time, happy coding.